concerned citizens for being here. I've often said that there are not very many concerned, informed, involved citizens, and if there were more folks like you, we would have good government at every level of government. So thank you very much for being here. I'm Lee Morris, of course. You can tell from the picture. I represent District 3 on the Commission. There's 6 districts. District 3 runs from Sandy Springs on the north. Everything south of 285 is in my district. And it goes down to 10th Street on the south. So I have all of Buckhead and most of Sandy Springs, a little of Midtown. We're doing this town hall meeting about the justice system because this is really a big deal in the county. And we decided to start in District 3 for a couple of reasons. One is because I'm one of the liaisons with the Justice Partners on the Board of Commissioners. And also because District 3 contains Buckhead, and that's where an awful lot of folks are concerned about crime and public safety, and we hear from them. We hear from them all over the county, of course, but as you all know, in Buckhead, it's risen to a level where they want to talk about another city. I want to acknowledge, before we get started, Commission Chairman Rob Pitts, who's back here, I think one of the finest public servants I've ever known of. And to his right is Dick Anderson, our county manager. Let me see who else. I should acknowledge my chief of staff, Jen Thomas, and the rest of my staff, Michelle Anderson. Thank you for being here. So, over 2 years ago, justice systems throughout the country, maybe throughout the world, shut down because of the pandemic. Fulton County was no exception. So cases backed up. There were no jury trials. There was not much going on in the justice system at all, except, of course, we were still arresting folks. The 15 cities in the county were still arresting folks and putting them in our jail. So the jail population increased. People sitting in jail awaiting trial. We're sitting in jail awaiting trial. But it wasn't just criminal cases. Business lawsuits, divorces, lots of civil suits, lots of criminal cases. Lots of folks have said, justice delayed is justice denied. These folks needed to get on with their lives. They needed to have their disputes resolved so they could get on with their lives. The folks in the jail needed to have their trial. Maybe they were sitting there, maybe they were out on bail, but because of their arrest and they felt like they were going to be acquitted, maybe they lost their job, maybe they lost their home. Some folks in the jail, of course, are found innocent and need to move on with their lives in that fashion. Others needed to be tried, and if convicted, sent on to the state prison system to relieve our jail and the taxpayers of the city of those costs, taxpayers of the county of those costs. So your Board of Commissioners voted to allocate $75 million of federal American Rescue Plan Act money, ARPA money, to address the accumulation of cases. This $75 million was going to fund over 300 positions that we were going to hire in various departments, from the judges to the DA to the Solicitor General, marshals, sheriffs. So it's going to fund over 300 positions over the course of 2+ years, while we expected to drive this accumulation down by the end of 2023. It was going to devote some funds to taking some old courtrooms out of mothballs and refurbishing them and get them up and running, build new courthouses in a couple of places. Hire retired judges from throughout the state to come in and try in those courtrooms, along with those other 300 and something people that we were going to hire with that $75 million. We're also going to use some of that money for technology, for tools that we're going to allow cases to proceed in some new and innovative ways, and we'll hear a little bit about some of those later on. And the point tonight was we wanted to share with the public more detail about this process than what you can pick up by watching Board of Commissioners meetings. I know at least one or two people in here watch the commissioner meetings on TV. I can't imagine that, but this is a way for you to learn more about this, because this is a big deal. We couldn't have all the justice partners present, so we have here the Superior Court Chief Judge Chris Brasher, the Solicitor General Keith Gamage. These two folks are elected like the commissioners are, and then we have Alton Adams, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Public Safety, Justice, and Technology. Lots of areas in the county. And Alton has really been a leader in trying to get the justice partners working together collaboratively on this plan and exercising this plan. I am hoping that we will end it with a hard stop at 8, if people can hang around that long. So we'll ask Chief Judge Brasher to talk for 10 minutes or so about what's going on in the court system, and then Solicitor General Gamage, maybe 10 minutes or so, and then Alton has some slides, which I think you'll find very informative, and then we'll hope to have an awful lot of time for your questions and answers. So, Chief Judge, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here. And just a note of introduction, my name is Chris Brasher. I'm the Chief Superior Court Judge in Fulton County. I've been on the bench for almost 17 years. Came to the bench after a career as an attorney, first as a prosecutor and then at the State Attorney General's office representing all of the state level public safety agencies. And again, I've been on the bench for 17 years. I've raised my family here in Fulton County. I've lived in Fulton County for 30 years, raised 2 children who went to public schools, went on to public colleges. My daughter is a teacher in Fulton County, and both my children live in Fulton County. I live in Sandy Springs. I wanted to start by saying that we as citizens of Fulton County have a lot to be proud of about how our county has responded proactively to the difficulties that the COVID pandemic have visited on the criminal justice system. I sit on a board statewide that helps to allocate funds to the rest of Georgia. And the rest of Georgia, outside of Fulton County, is vying for $98 million among 158 counties. Fulton County, being proactive, has secured $200 million of ARPA funds and set aside $75 million of it for our justice system alone. In the rest of Georgia, an individual judicial circuit can only get a maximum of $2 million. And we've got $75 million for our justice system. So again, you have a lot to be proud of. This is money that was set aside for responding to COVID. And that's exactly what we've tried to do here in Fulton County. I've got 3 topics I really wanted to talk to you about: COVID, crime, and caseloads. I'm not trying to be trite with my alliteration there, but to talk about COVID, let's cast our minds back to March of 2020 when everything was changing. For about 3 weeks before COVID stopped everything, I went into the jury room where you and all of your friends and neighbors come when you have jury duty. And I started to notice that we saw more and more masks as that time went on. We've been able to use those funds to build up, to stand up that technology. One of the things that Commissioner alluded to was some technology that we've really leaned heavily on, and that's virtual jury selection in civil cases. Since November of 2020, we have been picking juries virtually in Fulton County in civil cases. I think we're the only county that's doing it. We have chosen more than 100 juries in civil cases by using Zoom. So jurors don't have to come unless they're picked. So that means that for a civil jury panel, which is usually 36 people, 2/3 of them never have to come to the courthouse. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the efforts that we've had. Do we have challenges ahead? Sure we do. We've got lots of cases. We've got 275 people in jail charged with murder. So we've got a lot of cases to try. And so, yes, there are opportunities, and we will continue to use these funds, especially now that we're ramping up the capacity of the criminal courts to be able to meet that challenge. So, thank you.
As the Fulton County Solicitor General, and so this wonderful county chose me to serve as your elected misdemeanor prosecutor, and we're so happy to do it. I want to say thank you to Commissioner Morris for the great work he does across Fulton County. Thank you for the invitation as well, and to Chief Judge Brasher for that great report and for your leadership. We really are doing great work, you all, in Fulton County. And we don't often get the applause that the folks who are driving us forward, whether they be the folks who are leaders or the folks who are part of our team members. So I want to take a moment also to just acknowledge Fulton County employees. They're really the backbone of our government. And when I think of my team members, many of them are waking at 4 a.m. and they get to work on cases that involve people who are in jail. And some of those folks, listen, neighbors, some of those folks need to be in jail. I've got about 4,000 cases of domestic violence that we're currently prosecuting in various stages, whether that be the investigative stage with a victim advocate who's on the telephone at 6 a.m. speaking to a lady who may have been strangled by the individual who lives in her home and says that he loves her. The 9 and 10 and 7-year-old children in many of those homes are watching that kind of behavior. And our team is trying to figure out throughout the court system, who should we focus our laser-like lens on and be zealous in prosecuting? And who should we provide pathways out of the criminal justice system to?
A 95% increase in aggravated assault charges, a 94% increase in robberies, 112% increase in gang cases, 79% increase in entering an auto, and 69% increase in burglaries. So those are things that have happened since the pandemic began. So you put 9 months of no court, you put the difficulties that have happened with re-engaging with criminal court.
The goal was to identify cases that would have been impacted and were impacted by the shutdown of the system, which means that if you had a case, right, 2 or 3 years previous to COVID, and would in fact have been, had your day in court during that period in time, that was in fact a ORCA case. And as Commissioner Morris mentioned, we in fact put together a plan and a request from our county manager and our CFO and the Board of Commissioners to utilize $75 million of ARPA fundings.
You can just look at me, Commissioner. Let me frame you up real quick. Why did you want to have this town hall tonight, and get about the justice system and just get this information out to the public?
Well, this project is really a big deal. This project to try to reduce the accumulation of COVID-related cases. This is a big, important project. As I said, justice delayed is justice denied, and so all these folks needed to get on with their lives, whether they were accused of crimes or whether they were in a civil lawsuit. They needed to get it resolved and get on with their lives. So this is a really important project for not only all those folks accused and in the cases, but for the citizens and taxpayers of the county.
And just lastly, why was it important to you to bring in Solicitor Gamage, Chief Judge Brasher, and Alton, just bringing them all together?
Well, one of the things that I've worked on, I was sort of the liaison early on with the elected officials meetings. For the first time, they said the chief judge and the magistrate judge and the DA and the solicitor all met in a room and talked to each other. So it's been a terrific experience to learn more about how all of this system works, from the time someone's arrested to the time they're either released, found not guilty, or sent on to the state prison system. So it's been a fascinating experience, and to have these gentlemen, these very experienced, learned, tremendous public servants speaking to the public, seemed to be an important thing to me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Good deal.